Hi there folks, welcome to RRTV's live coverage of the Australasian Superskips. We're coming to you live from Watkins Glen International Cup course tonight for round 4, and it's going to be a very exciting race tonight. But before we get into it, I'd like to welcome to the com box Desmond Harburger. Have I got that right, Des?
It's Harburger, but you got it right, it's all right.
Alright, no worries. Well, it's going to be exciting. We've got Alex McCullough out there driving tonight, folks. He normally helps call the Monday night lights, but he'll be running tonight. He's currently sitting in 5th position as they started their qualifying. So 13 minutes of qualifying to go, and we'll see how they're going. But at the moment, let's have a look at the track and the weather we'll have tonight. So it's mostly cloudy out there, wind speed 18 kilometres an hour, humidity 38 with a track temp of 30 degrees Celsius. So it's not too bad out there tonight, Des.
No, it's good temp. It's going to bring out some quite quick lap times, to say the least, with the track temps earlier in the week running quite high and still producing quick time. So it will be an interesting packed race for this Watkins Glen's run. Yeah,
so for the folks out there that don't know much about this series, basically they run, I think it's 60% fuel capacity maximum, and the length of the race is 1.69 times what a normal race would be. So these sort of races will go around about 45 minutes. They have one mandatory pit stop to make in that time, and they've got one fast repair, and I think the incident cap set around about 20.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting as this plays out with the track temps and the speed that carries through on this track with the slipstream down that back straight. So at the end of the day, I think, Bernie, it's going to make a interesting run, especially with pit strategies coming into this one as well.
Yeah, I definitely will, and I love it when they bring pit strategy into these sort of races. But your top 5 at the moment in qualifying, folks. Sam Katakazinos is in provisional pole. He set his best time, a 1:24.399. Luke Whitten is currently sitting second with a 1:24.457. We have Mick Gray up there in 3rd position, and his best time was a 1:24.524. We've also got Russell Clark sitting in 4th, and his time was a 1:24.540, and rounding out your top 5 at the moment, Alex John with a 1:24.546.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. There's some of the top runners that generally tend to want to push up, especially in the last week's race, or the last fortnight, which was the Okayama. The guys that we've seen at the top weren't there with Russell Clark just dropping a 23.9, so he's dropped out of the 24s. So it's going to basically be an extremely fast track, and we're going to see some hectic racing and a lot of changes, I believe.
Yeah, I think up this back straight we normally see a lot of drafting as they come into the bus stop, or as I think it's officially called, the inner loop. So we'll see a lot of passing up through there, and that normally starts from turn 1. If they get a good exit from there, get the momentum up through the S's, that's going to carry them all the way up to the bus stop.
Yeah, no, and it's vitally important, actually. It all begins at the last corner to be able to time yourself with that run through onto that back straight through the S's. If you get on the power too early and you're up on the tail of the other car that's leading onto the back straight, you're going to run into all sorts of troubles trying to pass them through the tunnel. So it's going to be a mind game. It's going to be strategy. It's going to be a lot of things will need to come together to win this race. But there you go, Ian Bevan, he's pushed it down. He was worried that he wasn't going to be able to put on pace, but there he is, Ian Bevan.
Yeah, he's jumped right up to second, hasn't he? And you can see him on screen now, folks. He's really throwing the car around there. His best time at 1:24.219. Russell Clark's also jumped up now into provisional pole, as you can see him just backing out in the outer loop. 1:23.911. The only guy in the 1:23s at the moment, Des?
Yeah, it seems that way. Sam Katakazinos, he's putting in a solid run. He had a good show last at Okayama. Witten, he's up there also, but he's still obviously a little bit off the pace. It'd be interesting to see how he's supposed to be finishing first. So he's obviously quick. He's got the pace, but we'll see how this run plays out for him. He hasn't had much luck, so it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, it certainly will. And Sam was really racy last Monday night, but unfortunately had a coming together while leading that race and pretty much put him out of contention. So I'd say he's going to be a bit hungry to do well here tonight.
No, definitely. Alex John, he's back in 7 at the moment. He's in part of the Milo team. These two are going to be I've actually called it. I'm imagining that they're going to be able to push quite well in this. If they can get within shot of each other, which they clearly aren't at the moment. There's a seven spot deficit between the two of them, but if they can get in, they can work as a team in that scenario, or all the drivers working as a partial team to be able to get to the location that they want to be at the end of the race, which is obviously first at Bernie.
Yeah, exactly right, and we'll see in the next hour or so who actually will be standing on that podium. The other thing to point out, folks, if you can, there's quite a number of live streamers on Twitch tonight streaming. One of them is Alex McCullough, so if you go to twitch.com, check out Top Split TV, and you can put that up side by side with the broadcast, see what Alex is doing live from his cockpit while listening to our broadcast. I think Sam Katakazinos, I'm not sure if he's streaming tonight, but he's normally a streamer, and Alex John, I think he records and then uploads later.
No, definitely. I can confirm for you that Sam Katakazinos is in fact running his stream at the moment, and obviously Alex, as we see Alex John, no, which car was that? Definitely Alex John's car, just looping coming through the bus stop. So yeah, those streams are up and running, and maybe if we're lucky, depending on how it plays out, I have had a quick walk through pit lane earlier this afternoon, had a talk with Ian. He's happy to give us an online chat during the race, if willing.
Fantastic. We'll just, if he doesn't look too busy, we can drag him up and have that chat. But of course, if he's got his hands full, we'll probably leave him be. The other interesting thing with Alex John, folks, is if you check out his YouTube channel, Alex John, I think it's the name of the YouTube channel, he often brings up replays of his racing, and what makes it unique is he's actually running it from the Rift, so you can actually see what he sees in virtual reality, and it's always very entertaining.
Yes, no, I've heard a lot about fellas that I've raced with in the past and stuff that run the Rifts. Obviously, it's the immersion, it's the surrounding, it's the environment to be able to understand where it is happening, and the immersion is, I believe, is where this style of esport is actually going, Bernie.
Yeah, it definitely is where our esport's going. From the word I've got so far is VR's almost there, but the resolution isn't quite there yet. So I'm sort of expecting when the next versions come out, which will probably be 2018, maybe 19, if that resolution is up to, say, let's 1920 by 1080 on one eye, so double that, then I think we'll see a lot more people adopting it.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I'm going to have to eat my words. Like I said before, we have Luke Witten jumping up into provisional pole with 23.720. So there it is. He's managed to carve a fair bit out of Russell's time. So it'll be an interesting race.
Yeah, it certainly will. So if we look at your top 10 as they stand at the moment, Luke Witten provisional pole, Russell Clark second there, the only two in the 123s at the moment. Ian Bevan third, Mick Gray fourth, Sam Katakazinos is now sitting in fifth, Brad Parkin is in sixth, Alex John down there in seventh, and right behind him is Alex McCullough. Ninth, Dennis Fiedler and Kevin Henderson. That's your top 10.
Yeah, that is utterly unbelievable. I'm just perusing through the actual. We come all the way down to number 15. We find 15 from 3rd to 15. They are in 1 second of each other. So that's how close this race will be. It is going to be literally nose to bumper this entire race. So it's going to be hard.
It certainly is, and we've got a total of 30 drivers out there tonight. So fantastic showing, and it's going to be an awesome race, that's for sure.
No, definitely will be, Bernie.
So we've got 4 minutes to go, but let's have a look at our point score as it stands now at round 4. So Alex John's actually leading. He's sitting on 60 points, and he's completed 3 races. Luke Whitten sitting on second on 54 points. Third is Russell Clark on 50 points. Christian Kabanka is in fourth on 48 points. Mick Watson is fifth on 43, and that's your top 5. Now, looking at our grid, I'm not sure if we've got Christian or Mick here with us tonight.
No, looking through the field, no, I can't pick either of them up. So it's going to be interesting. It's throw a bit of a spanner into the upper order for that top 5 placing. So it's going to be interesting how this, in fact, will play out for the team championship points, Bernie.
Yeah, well, I know Alex is sitting in 7th, so he's going to jump up if he has a good finish here. And I reckon Kevin Henderson is also looking to jump up ahead of Nick Reed, possibly, because where's Kevin at the moment? Nick's qualified 20th, and Kevin is currently in 13th as this qualifying continues.
Yeah, no, it's the whole strategy, I think, is going to play out within this. It's risk reward, whether or not you're going to take a risk at a specific point on this track, and it is risky, especially coming 2 and 3 wide, and they generally double stack at times coming into the bus stop. You can come undone extremely quickly on that left-hand side curb. It can kick you sideways. It can create a massive crash, and then all of a sudden your top 5 runners, even your back runners, like you pick up after your 6th and 7th, pick it up, it wipes the entire field out. So it can literally throw a spanner in the works throughout the course of the race.
Yeah, and that's one thing we're definitely going to have to keep an eye on as this race progresses. And 2 minutes 22 left. I've noticed Ian Bevan's on a flyer at the moment. He got a good tow up the back straight, slingshotted into the bus stop, and we'll see if he can improve. He's got a bit of traffic now, though, and I think that's going to hamper his qualifying.
No, definitely. As you see him come back onto the main straight, as he's come around that corner, he's actually caught a car that was pitting. So yeah, you're going to see quicker times. 23.7, you're never going to ever see that in the main races. So this 23.7 is obviously drafted because they're all running in the same qualifying session. So it amazed me to begin with, but then I realised, they're realising that you have got the slipstream, you have got these. But while we're just on board at the moment, I think we're following Bevan now. He's pulled up on the toe of another car. Now this is where it's going to get interesting during the race. We're going to see this occur. Now he has to time his run through the first part of the straight up through the S's and onto this section. Now if he gets it wrong and gets it up onto the back of him, it's going to create all sorts of dramas for him coming into the bus stop. So this is where the race is really going to fold out, is the concentration, positioning the car and getting the runs on the corners correct.
Yeah, and he with that tow, his top speed was 197 kilometres an hour, so I think he gained about 2 kilometres an hour with that tow.
Yeah, and this is where it's going to come down, and this is the great part about this track, is it is in fact a great slipstreaming track. It's a flowing track. You're not required, there's not hard braking on this track, so apart from like turn 1, so and even then, like, you can get a good sweep, you can come out wide, but it's a cunning corner. You can't take it too wide because you basically put it wide, you can't get on quick enough that someone can check up on you. So it'll all pull together during the race, and it's consistency. I was talking with Ian again before the start of the race, and it all came down to him for Okayama was consistency. That's what he was aiming for, and I believe a consistent driver, as usual in any race, will win it.
Yeah, generally consistency beats raw speed, mainly hot lapping. That's the way anyone can, well, not anyone, but most people can string together a quick lap, but it's stringing them together over the course of the race consistently is normally what brings them to the top. But looks like quali's over. Ian Bevan did not improve his time even with that tow, so there's only 2 in the 123s, as we see now, Ian throwing it into the fence, but Luke Whitten, Russell Clark. But let's have a look at the grid as they stand, and then we can get ready to call this race, Des.
Good stuff. Let's hear it.
Okay, the grid as it stands at the moment, Luke Whitten will start from pole position with a 1:23.721. Russell Clark out of second, his time a 1:23.911. Ian Bevan will start out of third, followed by Dennis Fiedler in fourth. Mick Gray, he will start out of fifth position. Sam Katakazinos is down there in sixth, followed by Brad Parkin starting out of seventh. Out of eighth tonight will be Kevin Henderson, followed by Michelle CDJ Corn. I think we might just call him Mick. And Alex McKellar, well, he's starting out of 10th tonight. Out of 11th will be... Sorry, do you want to call the next 10?
No, you're right. I was going to... Surprising fact there with Dennis pushing higher up, but no, continue on. 11th, we've got Alex John. 12th, Matthew Hobbs. Number 2 is in 12th. We've got Mark Turner in 13th. Ashley Work in 14th. We've got Ryan Telly coming in behind Work there at 15th. We've got Nick Reed, Brian Munger and Aaron Drury following out 16, 17 and 18. Les Peck, further down the order than I thought he would have been, is in 19th. We have Joseph Philosmanta, I'm sorry if I absolutely axed that name, is in 20th. Daniel Harding we have in 21. Then the 22, 23, 24, we have the Darren Carter, we've got Simon Chambers, Mark Jeffries, and then coming into 25th, we've got Darren Lassou. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And then 26, Nathan Kong, followed by Ken Hyams in 27th. Callum Dwyer will start out at 28th. 29th is Rob Hope. And then rounding out your field of 30 is Anthony Moore. And the viewers have just let us know, Des, if you can turn your mic up a little bit, that would be great.
10-4 on that.
So, folks, I will reset our overlays and get ready to call this action at Watkins Glen. It's going to be quite interesting, Des. The short course, in your opinion, do you think this is well suited to the Skippy, or do they prefer running the longer course?
I've run both. I've run the GT3s and I like the long course. I just like the boot. It's just a part of the track that I really do enjoy. So I think it's a catch-22 on this track. It's a great little track. It's quick. It produces quick racing. It's fun racing. So yeah, at the end of the day, I believe it's going to create an overall exciting turn of events. And obviously, I've been racing it through the week, so it's got potential.
Fantastic, and we'll see how much potential it actually does have once we get racing here. You can see the grid now starting to queue up. 30 cars here, fantastic turnout, and I'm so much looking forward to calling the action here for the Australasian Superskips. And of course, this series runs fortnightly, and I think next fortnight it'll be yourself and Alex calling it on Top Split TV.
Yeah, I think we're back to the old Comcast team, the new, I suppose, not old. So, this is literally my second cast. So yeah, it's exciting to say the least. You know, stuttering, trying to catch my own words as the timer counts down, and the cars mount the grid to start the race.
Yeah, and for the folks wondering why it's not all on RRTV, well, generally we have a bit of a conflict going on with the ESCC or the Endurance, so we jump over, call that while Top Split covers this. But we're under starters orders now, 30 laps remaining. We're under green here, clean start. Hold your breath, folks. Turn 1. It may not be a clean start, but so far it's looking good. We can see who's that out front at the moment. I'll find out.
I'm pretty sure it's Luke Whitten in front, Russell Clark following as Luke pushes it wide, coming onto the main start of the S's with Russell Clark, Ian Bevan, followed closely by Dennis Fiddler pushing up. Here's the first run. We've got a Clark with that position, that distance that's required to get that good run at the start. But I'll tell you what, Whitten is just holding nothing back, and he is cutting loose. Here he goes.
Yeah, so Luke's leading up here now. We'll see the draft. Ian Bevan's jumping out of the draft. He's having a look on Russell Clark here as they come in the bus stop the first time. Tucks back in, and who's that right behind him though? That's Dennis Fiedler putting the pressure on. Mick Gray after him, Kevin Henderson, Sam Katakazinos. There's a lot of big names up here in the front.
No, there definitely is, and they're all packing in there. Where's Henderson? We've got to keep an eye out for Henderson and Catagazinas. They love battling. They love this pack for some reason. They always find them together as some guys are coming over the radio. Let's put a banner checking up. We have a car swerving at the back. No, it's all clean. So we've got Corn. It looks like we haven't had an address there, so it's all running through quite nicely. Everyone's spaced, and we have our first lap clean, which you're very generally you don't find. Right.
Exactly right, and Kevin Henderson managed to jump ahead of Sam Catagazinos there, but Mick Gray, he's had a really good start. He's up in 5th position at the moment, so your top 5 as they stand after lap 1. Luke Whitten leads Russell Clark, Ian Bevan, Dennis Fiedler and Mick Gray.
Followed out by, we've got, actually all my numbers are all switched up, but with Russell, on this position here, if we cut back to Russell with the opportunity to see how he's going, this is the striking distance. He's in the perfect run to be able to get. This is what I was talking about earlier. Now watch the car behind him. Bevan's going to get this sandwiching action. So this is where they generally tend to want to stack, as the front 3 pack seem to pull away from Mick Gray, Henderson and Catagazinas as they come in through the first section of the bus stop, cutting wide as we do have the switch. There you go. Russell Clark got the draft, and then this is going to where it plays out. And actually, I don't know, is that number 1? We got Bevan has pushed in front of Whitten there, Ben?
No, Luke Whitten still in 2nd position there, but it looked like we're riding on the gyro cam there with Russell as he made that move, and I tell you what, I think Luke backed out of it and just let him take that position this early in the race. So it's Russell Clark leading Luke Whitten, and then Ian Bevan sitting there in 3rd position. Dennis is hanging on to the back of this front 4, and then there's a slight gap. It's starting to get a bigger gap now back to Mick Gray, so he's going to have to watch out that he doesn't drop more than about 1.5 seconds, because if he does, he's going to drop the draft.
Yeah, no, definitely. But this lead pack, they're going to jostle like this. I don't think they're going to separate real much. It's going to happen. Well, the big switch out is actually the last, the 11th car, Alex John, who's just tailed onto the last of the other cars in 11th position. You're starting to see Turner, who actually was a good showing last week. He's tailed onto the back of that pack as well. But we're starting to see a separation in the packs from 12 to 13. So these guys need to get their finger out and actually get up this racetrack and catch on that draft, because if they keep battling the way here they go now, they're stacking up 2 by 2 as one pulls back in behind to slip in through the bus stop there.
Yeah, and we're definitely starting to see 2 big battle packs forming here. We're having a look back at Brian Munger leading Nick Reed, followed by Matthew Hobbs. So that's the 2nd battle pack. And then, of course, we've got the leaders up here, which, we've got 3 battle packs, haven't we? We've got the lead pack, followed by the 2nd one, although now that is closed back up, and we've got a huge... right all the way back to 12th position this train is.
No, 12th, 13. So you got Brian. Yeah, no, definitely 12th position. We've got Mark Turner on the back of the first pack, and then Brian Munger is leading the 2nd battle pack. And I'm telling you what, these aren't small packs; they are massive packs. Actually, as we drop back, I think we have a few cars. No, we do not. As I flick through the order, we do have a few stragglers out the back. Callum Dwyer, followed by Moore and Hames, who are struggling back down the back. Whether or not they've actually picked up a bit of damage, it will be interesting to see how their race. As I think we have one who didn't. Ryan Terry hasn't started.
That's right, and Simon Chambers, he had to come in for a quick pit stop, so I'd say that was to get that car repaired, so he's run into trouble out there somewhere. But at the moment, I tell you what, Dennis cut the nose off there of Mick. He wanted to have a look, but Dennis said no way. Kevin Henderson is now pushing the back of Mick's car, not literally, but we don't do that sort of thing in Skip Barber Racing. Alex McCullough, he's moved up into 9th position, and he's right on the end of this train. So as we were saying, folks, if you want to check out some live Twitch action, there's 2 guys streaming live, and they're both in this battle pack. Go over and check out Sam Catagazinos Racing on Twitch TV, or Top Split TV on Twitch TV. If you can, put them all up, keep our broadcast up, and you should get a nice simulcast.
It will work well, and especially I like doing that actually myself. When you actually get a feel of the pack of the guys running together, you can actually enjoy on board and the actual cast as it plays out. As we find the paternal twins stuck together again, we have Henderson and Katakazinas hip to hip again. I don't know how it is. They keep finding each other, but here they are. They just must, find each other out in the pack, and let's go. So as Mick Gray jostles, goes to the outside of, is it Henderson? No, where are we? We've got one in the middle between. We're going 3 wide. They figured that this is going to, hang on. Something's going to come undone here, surely.
Yeah.
No, as they all, is there a, no, this is the calibre of racing with these guys, all giving them room as they come into that bus stop there. Really?
Yeah, so that's Mick Gray outside, Kevin Henderson inside, Sam Katakazinos chasing his mate right behind him now. He jumps out of the slipstream. He's looking at trying to follow Mick Gray through, which he does. And who's that also following him through? Don't have a number. I think it might have been Alex John.
Alex John is further back down the pack. He's separated. He's got quite a separation now, so he's dragged off the tail. So we jump with Corn, and Alex seems to be tailing onto that pack now, so that lead pack. And then we've got little clusters starting to separate, but these clusters close up on that main straight. So I think a lot of this is strategic, the way they play out. But if they keep jostling the way that they are, instead of working together, we're going to have two things occur. We're going to have the lead pack separate and pull away, and they're going to lose any chance of being able to tail onto that lead pack and have a real good shot at getting a pole position or a podium finish.
Yeah, so that driver was Brad Parkin that jumped into the party there. He followed Mick Gray through, so we're looking from his car at the moment. Sam Katakazinas, look at Kevin Henderson straight through the middle, splitting the pack. That's a gutsy move.
Oh, that takes.
Mick Gray's,
here we go. There's a slide out wide, collected him. Yes, Katakazinas is gone. He's off the track along with McKellar. We've got that's a bad crash. That is taking out 3 or 4 drivers there as it played through. If we can obviously drag that up on the replay when you get a chance there, Bernie, that was an incident caused by an outside car. I think Mick Gray, I think, lost control from hitting the inside left-hand curb on the entry to the bus stop.
Yeah, we're having a look at the moment, and I'll tell you what, I think Kevin Henderson caught them all unawares there as he came up. Now we're having a look on entry. Mick Gray, as you said, lost traction pretty much, got it sliding, trying to gather it up, and as he comes across the track, as you said, hold on to your breath, because where's his mate, Sam Katakazinos? There he is, and look at that car fly. We were riding with Brad Parkin there, and he also managed to clip Sam, but the 73 is also involved in that, and that was trying to get who that car is, Alex McKellar.
Alex McKellar, was the other one involved. As we push back to the front of the pack, we have had a lead change. We've had a early pit stop. This is where the pit strategies will start to play out now. Witten's actually pulled into the pits, while we have a lead change with Dennis Fiddler taking the lead now off of Clark, and then Bevan in hot pursuit. So there you go, one little slip up, and it's basically created a gap, and a pit strategy has swapped out the whole lead. It's just separated the whole pack that was racing together.
Yeah, and they're all starting to look at their pit stops now. So, as you said, Luke Witten has stopped with the 9.8 seconds. The other one, Sam Katakazinos, well, he's trying to get back to the pits, and that's so unfortunate for him. It looks like he'll have to use a fast repair, but another bad ending to his racing tonight. Rob Hope, he's also coming into the pits to get service, and so that's who we've got. But the front 5 at the moment, Dennis Fiedler, Russell Clark, as we can see them now battling it out here for first and second, and then we've got Kevin Henderson. Just trying to see where Ian Bevan is. I think he's taking service.
He is, sorry for saying that. He jumped into the pits just as that sequence ran through. As soon as that final lap played through, Ian Bevan's ducked into the pits to take his fuel stop. So this is a strategy that we spoke about earlier before the race. It was an idea for his to be able to get a bit of clean air, and it's obviously going to work for him. It's unfortunate that crash occurred, because it probably would have worked better for him to run a bit longer, but this is how this track plays out. So, these are the scenarios that you think you have worked out, but never generally play out the way you think they should. So it's going to see, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and the luckiest driver out of that last incident was Brad Park, and he actually managed to avoid any damage to that car, as Sam Katakazinos had his car pretty much standing on the back wing, as Brad just sort of avoided the whole action. And we were, of course, riding live with him at the time. I thought he did get collected, but he managed to thread the needle.
Yeah, you get lucky sometimes. Sometimes you might... I've actually seen cars drive under a flipping car. So if you're lucky enough to do it, and in that scenario he may have duck under it, I'm not sure. I didn't actually catch the replay. So yeah, it's the right place, right time scenario. Yeah,
and we've just had Michiel Korn set the fastest time of the race at the moment, so that's a 1:24.282, but he's in the draft at the moment. He's having a good run here, sitting in 7th position, and not sure where he started, but he's having a great battle with Brad Parkin just ahead of him.
Yeah, no, that's that micro pack that's developed in behind the lead pack after that incident that was between those 3 cars with Alex McKellar. He's obviously, he's getting that good slip. The cars are starting to settle into the groove. The guys are starting to settle into the grooves as I'm riding on board with Mark Turner at the moment, leading that small pack of 4. So it's, Korn, Reed, it's... Actually, I've got a mix-up there, sorry. Korn's leading the tail end of that 4 battle pack, pushing back behind that. Then you've got this other little pack that's developed. It's a 2-man pack. So there's a lot of separation occurring. So whether or not these guys have the speed to pick up, but once we see these other cars cycle through their actual pit stop, we'll actually see a shakedown occur on the actual order and give us a fair representation of how the race will begin to phase itself into the final stretches of the race.
And at the moment we can see Russell Clark leading Dennis Fiedler. They're pretty much swapping 2 or 3 times a lap, as we can see now Dennis pulling out to the outside, and he should take the lead back. He does as they come into the bus stop. Then a huge gap back to Kevin Henderson. Bit of an update, folks, on where Sam Katakazinos is and the guys that were affected by that race. So Sam's had his car fixed and sitting in 24th position, 25th. Alex McKellar, he resumed without any damage, and he's in 17th position. The person that I wouldn't say caused it, but the person that spun out, which had the flow-on effect, was Mick Gray, 23rd, and looks like he didn't sustain a lot of damage from that.
Strangely, no. I thought the impact on the wall was quite large, but obviously Sammy got the raw end of the deal flipping his car. And, but it goes to show there's actually a twisted with Mick Gray. He didn't, whether that's just a glitch in the system, but his rear spoiler is also still damaged. But just back to the front, I just want to touch on the attitude of the drivers. Now, if you have a look at these front pack drivers, these first 2, Clark and Fiedler, they're working together. They're not trying to push each other like in ridiculous spots on the track. They're waiting to the back straight. Dennis is in fact tucked in behind Clark now. You'll watch the switch. They'll switch on the back straight. You'll actually watch Clark lift, maybe if he's in striking distance, to allow Dennis to have lead into the actual bus stop. Now, this is where all the other drivers need to be working together in the same scenario.
Yeah, exactly right. We saw a similar thing in real life today in the V8 supercars, and what they're saying is, yes, they're racing each other, but they're not racing each other to the point where they're going to slow each other down, because at the moment it's a 2-man race. The last thing they want to do is let Kevin bring himself and his entourage back into this race. So, and you nailed it. You hit the nail on the head in saying that, the front-running drivers, they know when to race hard, and they also know when to race cleanly without sacrificing speed.
No, that's definitely right. And if you actually drop back to the Alex John now, who's actually moved up into 4th position out of his lower position as earlier as 7. So with that incident, it's actually forced him further up the track with his, obviously not running his Team Milo livery. I might be just holding the wrong liveries, but these guys are working together also. They're not slowing each other down. They've got the exact same mindset as those two front runners, Fiedler and Clark. So, and Henderson, they're all trying to tail onto each other, and the little packs, the micro packs, are starting to merge on each other, and this is where it'll fold out. Now, with these battles that occur throughout like this, the battle packs will turn into aggressive battle packs. This is where you come into the third and second last laps of the race, and this is where the interesting parts will play out, is whether or not people, do I settle for a fourth position? Do I settle for a third? Do I push? Do I try and take these positions?
Yeah, exactly right, and I always call it like the temperature's rising at the moment. All the drivers are playing nice, so to speak, but as you said, when the laps start counting down, that's when all these alliances start to break down, and they start to put out their elbows a little more. Saying, elbows, nothing like the V8 supercars though. These guys don't generally like banging wheels.
No, these cars are literally tissue paper. You don't want to push them too hard, otherwise a little touch anywhere here, there or anywhere on these cars, and it literally costs you the race. It will cost you the race. So as we see the lead cars, Dennis Fiedler and Russell Clark, coming back onto the main straight for their, what lap are they on now, sorry?
18 laps remaining, so we've done 12 laps of this race so far. Looking at the drivers that have pitted, they are Luke Witt and Ian Bevins also made his stop now. Ashley Work, Aaron Drury, Nathan Kong, Rob Hope, Mark Jeffrey and Anthony Moore. They're all their scheduled stops, so there's still a few out there. Now, Sam had to limp his car back, and he's lost a heck of a lot of time from that. But saying that, he could probably go to the end now, couldn't he?
Definitely. With that pit stop that was that occurred, we've seen Witten come in at around, I think it may have been the lap before that incident occurred. So Sammy's got that run to the end now, so this is the conundrum that gets played out in any race in these scenarios. You don't know until everyone's pitted. You don't know the positioning. Now, the key point, what we need to point out here, is that we've had two cars, I'll come back to the top. Well, actually, I'm going to say top six cars, right back down to Perkin, who's leading on the tail end of this, the pack. These guys have got clean air. They didn't take any damage. Needless to say that you got Bevan that's pushed further down the order with a pit stop. He's in 17th position, going back through these slower cars. Now, I'll look at his lap times. His 24.033 is his quickest lap time, so he's still managing to pace quite well. He's not dropping off the pace. He's got a full intensity. He's done on his 9th lap, he's managed to put down a 25.4, so it's not slowing him down terribly, but there's an issue there maybe down the track if he can't get through these packs quick enough.
Yeah, so we'll definitely keep an eye on that as well. And I guess, with their pit stops here, Des, the race isn't really that long, is it? And these the tyres on these cars hardly wear out at all. So do you think they're going to throw any tyres on them, or do you reckon they're just going to toss fuel at them and go again?
The general consensus, I've spoken with a few different guys about their scenarios that they want to play out throughout the races, that they keep the tyres as are. They just... splash and dash is basically what it is. These cars don't hold virtually any, 11 litres, I think it's full. Actually, it might be 19, but they don't take much of fuel anyway, so that it doesn't take much for them to get fuel in them, and you've seen it in the pit stops. Correct amount of fuels. I know for a fact that Tim Awini, I'm sorry, I had to pronounce his last name, he puts, although he's not in the race tonight, he managed to have the last Okayama had the quickest pit time, and he managed to clip guys by 2 or 3 seconds. Now on track, that's massive. So the overall fuel consumption rate you need to be able to put back in, the consumption and the rate that you need to be able to put back in accurately can determine your race. So it makes a big difference with the pit stops.
Yeah, well, the thing is, these cars don't carry a lot of power, so it makes a huge difference. The less amount of fuel you can carry in them can make a huge difference to your speeds.
No, definitely. They can make a detrimental effect on the overall performance of the car, especially on the hilly section. Like, yeah, you're in fourth as you climb it, and it does struggle to get up there. So if you're carrying extra fuel, because you may think that I'll be able to carry extra fuel at the start of the race, whatever your pit strategy may be, it can be a detriment to the overall consistency that we're talking about earlier of your race, those times, getting them down. So generally you'll tend to find the pit windows be around the same area, apart from like obviously those guys that pitted quite early.
Yeah, so looking at your top 5 at the moment, folks, Dennis Fiedler, Russell Clark's leading Dennis Fiedler. Mark Turner, he is behind Kevin Henderson. So we've got 2 battle packs of 2 cars each at the moment. Michelle Dawn, he is, where's he? Looks like he's behind Alex John. So a battle pack of another 2, so that's for 5th and 6th. And then we've got Brad Park, and he's dropped off a little bit from the back of this these 2.
No, he definitely has. Cutting back to ones we haven't spoken about who will actually be a contender with this pit stop running out, he's sitting in 11th, and we've got Ian Bevan pushed in 3 positions behind him, sitting in 14th. So this is where the battle, as much as we're looking at these guys at the top between Clark and Fiedler, the guys that we need to be truly looking at are the Whitman and Bevan. So when these 2 guys catch each other, and I'll tell you what, it's as we have a switch, he's jumped up into 10th now. We're looking at his times, going over his times. He's got 23.7, 25, 24 obviously is in traffic with that 25, 24, 23s. So they're fast. That's not by any means a slow lap, but in comparison to what Bevans are doing, he's a little bit slower. So it's going to be interesting with Whitten. I'm going to have to eat my words. I think Whitten's in for a hot chance to take the podium pole finish, number 1.
Yeah, well, he's 24.1 seconds down. His last lap time was a 1:24.527, so he's taken out 3/10 out of the leaders at one time. He's that last lap. He's also in fresh air, which means he can pretty much drive the wheels off that car. He's not hindered, and yeah, we'll see. I think Luke and Ian, they're both in for a very good shot at this. It's going to be interesting once they hit the pit lane to when they take service to when they leave. I think that's going to be more than 24 seconds.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's when these pit stops come down, that they can be crucial. But like if you're not on pace, and I know for a fact that, you know, some of these, looking at their splits, some of these guys aren't able to carry pace, and Luke is just, you know, far and above. You know, his pacings are so much faster, and as much, like you said, clean air. Luke has got the clean air, where you've got, even though these guys are working together so well up the front, you know, Fiedler and Clark, they're not pacing at his pace. So it's going to be a difficult one to play out.
Yeah, it's going to make it very exciting though once these 2 do come in. The question is, when are they going to come in, and are they going to come in at the same time? I would suggest they probably won't, but then again, drivers have made a liar out of me many a time, so you just don't know, do you?
No, you literally got to stick a pin in this field, because it could be anyone at this point in time. As we round out the last 2 corners, coming back onto the main straight with Clarkey in front, followed by Fiedler. Then we've got Henderson, who's tailing in behind them, and he's got, nope, sorry, that's incorrect, is it?
Yeah,
no, Henderson.
Because these 2 are swapping about 3 or 4 times a lap. It's generally, it says here Russell Clark's leading, which he is now, because he's just passed Dennis again. But then Dennis will pass him as they go out of the outer loop. He'll get past him again.
Yeah, no, and as Henderson takes over on Turner now, they switch back then. What's going on? No, I just thought it looked like Henderson just lifted as he's come up through the S's there. He's off the pace. What's going on?
No, he's fine. He's just backed out of it a bit there. I think Mark Turner started getting a bit squirrely going into the bus stop. There's a contact though, and Brad Parkin into the wall.
Oh. Brad Parkin, an incident that he narrowly missed earlier, I'm sure. So obviously he didn't miss this one. He's got a bit of spoiler damage as we have another car exiting the pits. I don't know whether who's into 117.
So we're just having a look at this replay now to have a look. He got caught up into the 70, I think it was. Yeah, the 70 backed out slightly, and Brad just nerfed the rear end of him and sent himself into the wall.
So he's coming for the quick repair there, but I don't know whether or not he's taken fuel. So I don't know where he's in the pit sequence. So it'd be very interesting to see whether or not he in fact did take fuel on that run. Bernie?
11.4 seconds I think he did take fuel, but he's going to be back in now getting that car repaired, I'd say. I'm just looking at the car that he did run into, and that was Michelle.
Cool.
Yeah, he just lifted a bit going into the outer loop there, and Brad didn't, and just ran into the back of him pretty much.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate spot to be able to do it. So obviously Corn's come through the bus stop, checked up, basically sacrificed his run coming into the carousel, and basically created a check-up back as far as what Parkin couldn't adjust quickly enough. And it is difficult to try and check up or brake coming into the carousel because it can actually push it wide. So it's caught him unawares and pushed him into the wall. It's unfortunate, that little incident.
Yeah, definitely is. But looking back, as you were saying with Kevin Henderson there, what happened was Mark Turner got a little squirrely into the bus stop there, and I think Kevin just gave him a bit of space. He's sitting in there at the moment. If we look at that live gap between Kevin and Mark, well, my telemetry's totally wrong here. It reckons it's 2.2 seconds, but I don't think... Oh, it might be the case. Yeah, it is, because he's tagged up behind one of the cars that are a lap down. So yeah. He has dropped off a fair bit. I apologise for that.
Yeah, no, it just seems strange. But as we cut back to them now, if you're actually on board with them, Kevin and Turner, Kevin is actually behind Mark. So as they lead up through the S's, coming onto the back straight, leading into the bus stop. So, and as he takes him on the left-hand side.
And of course, I mess up the camera at the crucial time. And so, yeah, Kevin Henderson just makes that move back on Mark Turner. But meanwhile, up front, we've got Dennis Fiedler now getting a bit of a gap on Russell Clark. And these guys have not pitted, nor has Kevin Henderson, Mark Turner in third or fourth. Alex John finds himself now up into fifth, so he's having a great race as well as Joseph Falcomata, who's finding himself in sixth at the moment.
Yeah, he's pushed himself quite further up the order here, so it'd be interesting to see. He hasn't pitted also. So, again, we've got Luke Whitten and Ian Bevan. Now, they're within, 5 seconds of each other. So this is going to be interesting. This is where the race will be. As we push further back down, Mick Gray, who had that incident earlier on, still with the twisted rear spoiler. Les Peck, 12th, 13th. We've got Callum Dwyer, Ashley Work following in. And you've got the separation that's coming through. There's about a second between them. So they're really starting to separate into the pack. So Katagazina, Sammy, he's back in 16th. He's charging hard. He's got a bloodlust, although he's not recording time, so whether or not he's in fact pushing quite too hard. So, yeah.
Yeah, the last lap we had on him was a 1:24.523. The fastest lap Sam's set is a 1:24.303. So he finds himself now up to 15th, and he's definitely got the car. He just didn't have the luck again tonight, and he pretty much got caught up in that incident when Mick Gray lost the rear end coming into the bus stop there.
Yeah, it is frustrating. It really becomes frustrating when you have the speed, you've got the car, you've done the practice, you've got the track time, and it creates a sheer annoyance, I suppose, is probably the best way to put it. As Simon Chambers is leading out I think he's just overtaken, Alex McKellar, is it? They're both hustling with each other.
Okay, our leaders are in Russell Clark, Dennis Fiedler, Mark Turner, Kevin Henderson. They all come in at the same time, so it's going to be interesting to see how they go. Joseph Falcomata, where's he? We'll see if he comes in, but then, of course, we keep an eye on Luke Whitten, Ian Bevan, because this is when the lead is going to all close up. Yeah, Joseph Falcomata in. Where's Luke Whitten now? He's down the start-finish straight as the guys are taking service. As you called it, Desi's going to take the lead. And then Ian Bevan, he's coming through for second. Where's Russell Clark? Russell's just coming out now. It's going to be close. Ian Bevan on the outside. Russell Clark covers him off. So your top three at the moment is Luke Whitten takes the lead. Russell Clark second, Ian Bevan third, Dennis Fiedler finds himself in fourth, Mark Turner fifth, and Kevin Henderson sixth.
Yeah, this is where it's going to be exciting. Now, it all depends on whether Clark is within striking distance to be able to catch Luke's draft, and then vice versa with the Ian Bevan. So if they all sort of cluster up nicely and pull themselves together, they can work as a team. Now, one of obviously two things will occur here. You're going to have massive separation. Bevan's going to come in on Clark. He's going to jump his position, and it's going to be a flat-out battle for first and second, followed by you've got Clarkey and Fiedler sort of pushing it out. Now, where it changes, the best place to be on this track on the final lap, strangely enough, is in third position. When you can time it correctly, that's the spot you want to be in, because you can jump both first and second car. So if he can tail onto the group of these, it can be anyone's race from that position.
Yeah, and we're going to give you a live gap now. And as they come across the line, we've got 8 laps to go. So the gap from Luke Whitten, let's get a live gap, 2.3 seconds back to Russell Clark. Russell Clark has a gap of 1 second in front of Ian Bevan. So Ian's got the tow at the moment. And then if we look further back, Dennis Fiedler, well, he's 3.9 seconds down, but only 1.4 seconds ahead of Kevin and Mark. So it'll be interesting to see if Kevin and Mark can work together to try to tow themselves back up onto the back of Dennis here.
No, definitely. It's all going to work together. It's going to be a strategy within the drivers. Like Clarkey needs to have a look and think about how the speed that Bevan's doing, how quickly he's actually caught him, because the separation in time was 1 second in that lap that Whitten has put to Clark. So Bevan's obviously going to be a quicker driver than Clark, but on this track it doesn't seem necessarily to matter. If you've got the draft, you've got a quicker car in front of you, they tow you around the track. Now, it's all going to come down to that sequence as it plays out. As I jump on board with Henderson, who's the sort of the stretching point of that front 5. So it's going to be difficult. I don't know if he's having trouble or not trying to keep up. So is he conserving? I'm not sure, because at that position of the track he should have been further up on the back of Mark Turner.
Yeah, well, we're looking at his revs now, and he's changing up. He's revving it out to 6150, but coming into those final couple of corners, he was definitely nursing that car through, as we can see again, coming through turn 1. So maybe he's just not happy with pushing it if his handling's not working the way he'd like it. Maybe, yeah, but it's we can't. We can only sort of go off what we're seeing, so it's a very difficult, as he ranges up on the back of Turner now within shot. So he's going to pull out of one slip into another slip, so this is going to be able to get into a jump and pull him onto the back of Dennis. So Dennis is going to be looking, he's going to have possum eyes, he's going to be looking everywhere. So he's looking forward, he's looking backwards, he's looking at his times, he's trying to work out, what am I going to do? We've got these guys that are pacing up on the back of him, but he needs to be within striking distance to have a chance to jump onto that top 3 position. Yeah, and while that was while we're having a look at that, we saw Ian Bevan. He passed Russell Clark now, so Ian's now 2.7 seconds down from Luke Whitten. Well, we'll get you a live gap now. 2.2 seconds is the gap, so they're starting to pull back Luke Whitten here with 6 laps to go, but 2.2 seconds. Do you reckon they can do it? You know what? It all comes at the weight is completely and utterly squared centrally on Ian Bevan's shoulders on this scenario. For them to work together in this scenario, Clarkey needs to not even attempt to overtake him. He needs to just stay behind Bevan this entire run, not even contesting, not allowing to lift, not doing anything. Bevan's a quicker driver than him, even with the overall lapping of the track. So he's better off lifting, but he's not. What's he going to do? No, he's going to have a stab. So this is what he should have done, was stayed in behind him and actually just, as Bevan's pulled back in behind him there to get into the bus stop. Yeah, and we saw how well that draft works, because now Kevin Henderson using Mark Turner to draft up onto Dennis. Kevin's now past Dennis, so this is a battle pack of 3, and if Russell and Ian work together, which it appears they are, they may be able to pull Luke back, but I think it's going to be a tall order with 5 laps racing to go. Their previous laps, Luke Whitten did a 124.647, Russell a 124.892, Ian Bevan though a 124.107 last lap by, and we'll see what he does this time with the tow, but he's putting in some blistering times out there.
Yeah, no, let him loose. This is his mindset is keep the car consistent. So, and at this point in time, the only hindering point for him to negligent that consistency is a car that's in front of him, so to speak. So he's too close. He's going to have to check up here unless Clarkey gives him the position, which he doesn't. So he would have had to have lifted coming up through that section. So that's going to be a detriment to this run.
Yeah, he's going the outside again. He's got the slingshot. We'll see if he can do it. I think he's going to make that move. But the last thing he wants is to be caught up in this battle with Russell. He'd rather Russell just tuck in behind him and try to tow each other up onto the back of Luke. But, Luke is a darn fast driver, as is Ian. But to pull in 2.4 seconds with 4 laps to go, they've got to pull in at least, 7/10 of a second. Last time through, Luke actually pulled 2/10 out on them.
Yeah, and that's where it comes down to. As much as you think you got the slipstream and you're quick down that back straight, you're not. If you've got a guy like Ian Bevan, you've got Whittens, you stay behind them. They'll tow you around the track every lap of the race. But if you're all lapping the same speed, yeah, definitely get into it. You're going to have to swap back and forth to be able to gain the times to get onto the packs. But as we just looking at Russell's teammate as Alex John, who's further down the pack. He's obviously leading the championship at the moment. He's back in 7th, and he's battling at the moment with I have no idea.
Michiel? I don't know. I'm not a French person. Yeah, Michiel. We'll call him Mick.
I actually think I don't know if he's Dutch or I'm not sure. I think he don't quote me.
It's alright, I've offended a lot of people with the way I pronounce their names, so just another one I just add on to my list here. But at the moment, 2.1 seconds from our race leader Luke Whitten back to Ian Bevan. Russell now is sitting in behind Ian. He's not close enough to battle, but enough to try to keep in that draft to carry himself up. This will probably work better for Ian if Russell's just going to sit there and not fight too hard. But of course, the guys that are fighting hard, Kevin Henderson, he's battling with Dennis Fiedler now, and Mark Turner's on the back of this battle pack, and just behind, that's those three. So these guys are having a fantastic battle as well.
No, definitely, and this is staging at this point now. They're all. This is where the elbows begin to come out now. They're all sizing each other up. They've been lapping with each other now. The pack that they've established that they've got in this, they're going, right, this is the pack we're going to run to the end. So they're all sizing each other up. They're watching their lines. They're keeping an eye on their run, seeing what they're timing their runs. Each time they come back off this main straight through this section here, through turn 1 and up into the S's, each time they're sizing each other up to try and work out in that final lap, where am I going to take them to create the least amount of risk of being overtaken again.
Okay, we've got some news on Michael. We pronounce his name Michael. He is actually Dutch, so thanks to our viewers there who let us know about that. And hopefully, guys, you're enjoying our telecast here tonight on RRTV.
No, I hope they. I'm not axing it too much for them. Just some names that are out there. I'm just pushing back into 12th. We've got Carter and Sammy. Now the separation between these two. So Sammy's pushed himself quite a. He's jumped up. Last time I think we touched with him, he was in 15th. So it's going to be interesting to see whether or not he can actually push himself further up. Whether or not he's got the time on Carter to be able to. My live feed on my times is separated, so I won't be able to get the true separation in time differential. So it'll be interesting to see whether Sammy's got a whiff of it and he wants a piece of it. So
yeah, well, we're on the last lap now, so I think that's where he's going to end up in 13th position. He's got Alex McCullough in 14th just behind him. Both of those guys are streaming live on Twitch tonight, but let's turn our attention to the leaders. Luke Whitten at the moment it's his race to lose. 2.2 seconds is the lead back to Ian Bevan in second place. Russell Clark now, well, he's dropped right off. I think Russell's got some fuel issues going on here because he's actually slowing up on the back straight. Or what's going on here? They're all slowing up.
Is that the race over?
Well, I've got the last lap board up now, but everyone's backing right off.
Has there been confusion?
I think there has. Let's jump on board. Well, Russell's just nursing this car. He's out of fuel. He is out of fuel on the last lap. That's what's happened.
No,
he's run out of fuel.
No, so he hasn't had. Oh, and he did. His top was a lot slower than Dennis's when they both came in. And he jumped out and he was right on the tail of Witten. So he's underfueled his car at that pit stop. Unfortunately, that would be devastating for him.
Yeah, it started to splutter up the back there. We jumped on him, well, not on him, on his car, and he was spluttering as he came across the carousel. So that's allowed Dennis Fiedler to come back up with Mark Turner, Kevin Henderson, and Kevin Henderson takes third position from Dennis Fiedler, and Mark Turner comes home in fifth. But poor Russell, at the moment, he's still limping it down there. This is very costly. He's coming home. He's not going to even get in the top 10, I don't think. Well, he's sitting in 8th. So, yeah, bad luck to Russell Clark there. Underfueled, as you said, Des, and very costly.
Unfortunate. And obviously the top order, where there it is, Luke, you know, had the speed, had the time, he worked it well, he came in early. Obviously his strategy, get out of that pack. Not that he needed to, because, you know, he's so damn quick. But yeah, with Ian Bevan not being able to close that distance, I think he had it under 2 seconds in the end there. So it was obviously Witten may have just lifted because there was no separation in time. Unfortunate that Dennis lost his third position to Henderson, so he'll be spewing about that. But yeah.
Yeah, the other guy that ran out of fuel as well was Sam Katakasinos. So he lost that position to Alex McKellar. Not quite so bad for Sam. He only lost one position, but same thing. His stop was a 7.8 second stop very early on after that incident, and he short fueled that by one lap. But it goes to show, Des, how on a knife edge they are in their the fuel strategy. Of course, as we were saying earlier, these cars don't carry a lot of power, so the least amount of fuel they can carry, the better. But the knife edge is, if they're out like we saw tonight, by half a lap, your race is done. Yeah,
you throw your race away if you don't put enough fuel in it, and it's as simple as that. I've done it. Everyone's done it. It's and it is devastating when it occurs. So it's a shame that these things occur in those situations, especially with the technology that some of these guys are in fact running. But you know, this is racing. You know, this is what happens at this sort of this caliber of racing. You know, you're wanting to be able to have those pit stops as low as you possibly can. So yeah.
Yeah, and to underline that, Kevin Henderson has run out of fuel on the slowdown lap, so he's got it almost to perfection, well, as close as he could, and that's allowed him to get up to third in that race. If we looked at his time, 9.3 was his pit stop. Then if we go back to Russell Clark, he did a 7.4 and did not have enough to get home, nor did Sam Katakasinos, who did a 7.8. So it looks like the sweet spot tonight in that stop was around about the low 9s.
Yeah, and that's where you've got to find that sweet spot. And this is what practice does, being able to get in. Obviously, some of these guys are running JRT, whatever program they may be running. They'll be able to get a true understanding. It'll tell them the exact required amount, and some don't. It punishes them in the end. Yeah,
it certainly does. And let's have a look at the final positions as they ended. Very dramatic racing, and we'll debrief in a moment, but let's have a look at where your favourite drivers finished tonight. So Luke Witten takes the win tonight of round 4 of the Australasian Superskips here at Watkins Glen. The gap was 1.9 seconds back to Ian Bevan in second. Third, well, I've got here Dennis Fiedler in third, so my telemetry's telling me other things. So he did hold on to third. Mark Turner fourth, fifth. Kevin Henderson. Michael comes home in sixth, followed by Alex John in seventh. Eighth was Russell Clark, followed by Matthew Hobbs in ninth. 10th is Ashley Work.
Then I'm not even going to bother trying to call him out because mine's playing up as well. I've got Falcon Mino is in 11th. Is that correct?
That's
not 100%.
Correct.
Yeah, correct. So then we've got Carter 12th. McKellar, he pushed himself right back up into 13th. Katagazinis lucky to get where he was in 14th. So it's amazing that situation that gets played out there, like with the fuel. That's what it costs you one spot, and in other cases, as we've seen. Brad Perkin 15th, 16th Nick Reed, Aaron Jury 17th, Darren Lesu 17th. We have Les Peck much further down the order. I would have thought he may have been able to push himself a bit further up the order. It's surprising in 19th. Mick Bray with that big crash that caused all those dramas earlier in the race. That slip that caused the big crash, so to speak. In 20th, Brian Monga, 21, 22, 23, 24. We have Hope Harding and Simon Chambers. And then we have our one lap behind us there, Bernie.
Yeah, we've got Mark Jeffrey home in 25th. 26th was Callum Dwyer. Anthony Moore comes home at 27th. Now we're starting to look at our retirements. Nathan Kong, he was classified in 28th, but 14 laps down. Ken Hyams doesn't look like he even made a lap, nor did Ryan Terry. So they were both not classified tonight. And that's where your driver finished in the order tonight. But I guess we should bring some guys up for interviews. We did promise we'd cut across to Ian Bevan tonight, but quite honestly, he had his hands full all night, and I wasn't going to risk chatting to him live. No,
yeah, he was in pursuit. Every time I tried to, I'd generally switch back to have a quick squiz at what he was actually in the position that he was playing in. He was ears pinned. He was going, so he would have been concentrating quite hard just to know the fact that his pit stop, his strategy, he was in for he had a whiff, and you knew that his who he was pacing against. Yeah, so it was best to leave him.
Yeah, it's probably safe to talk to him now though. So let's bring him up, and we'll have a chat. I've just got to work out how to bring him up.
Just drag.
Oh, what's happened? Sorry, guys. Sorry. We're all in the green room. Okay. Discord. Don't you love it? Okay, guys. So welcome to RRTV's Combox. We're all sitting in the green room. Let's cut across first to Ian Bevan. Ian, fantastic race tonight, coming home in second. We saw you had a very early stop, and that slingshot seemed to work for you.
Well, I did have an early stop, but to be honest with you, it didn't work for me, Bernie. Luke and I had agreed that we would draft each other in quali, and that worked pretty well. And then we agreed that we'd stop at the end of lap 6 because I think we were both concerned that it was going to be a pile-up at some point, and we didn't want any part of it. He pulled in at the end of lap 6, and I saw a tan car drive past the pits rather than go in, and I thought that was him, and it wasn't. So he ended up stopping a lap earlier than me. And so I picked up a bit of extra fuel, and then when I came out, I was in real trouble because I had no one to draft with, and he had some drafting partners. But hey, it was it was a good race, but I looked at the time distance between us, and I looked at the track in front of us, and I thought, there's no way I'm going to catch Luke in the time we've got available. And we were matching each other. I haven't looked at the times, but we must have been lapping about within a tenth of each other for several laps.
Yeah, you were swapping within 2/10 of each other, lap after lap, pretty much 2 or 3 tenths, depending on the battle you were having with who was that? Russell Clark, was it battling with you, or Dennis? Russell. Yeah, and Russell ran out of fuel in the last lap. So that's where he ended up being. But it was a really entertaining race, Ian, and we were going to cross to you live, but we felt that you had your hands full tonight, so I wasn't really game to cut across into have a chat with you while you're racing.
Oh, that's all right, thanks, but I'd have been fine. Like, I'd already kind of just settled into my pace, really. It was kind of all over by that point. But listen, I just want to congratulate Luke because he sucked up a lot of pressure towards the end there. Russell and I were trying to cooperate, but Russell just didn't quite have something down the back straight to really make it work for us. But it was good fun. It's a shame that Luke and I didn't pit together because I think he and I could have had a really, really good tussle for those last few laps. But hey, you know, we neither of us had an accident, so we live to fight another day. And let's face it, there's nothing wrong with first and second, is there?
Well, exactly right, and you dodged the big one, as we call it. When Mick Gray got slightly loose there, we lost Sam Katakazinos, and Alex McCullough got involved in that incident with Mick Gray. So your pitting early probably saved you a bit of action there. I'm going to hand you over, though, to Des and see if he's got any more questions for you, Ian.
G'day, Des.
It has gone. Now, we did have a bit of a chat before the race. All the strategies that you had played out before the race, did they play a hand? Like your speed, I know you were down on speed and you were worried that your speed wasn't going to be there for the race. Clearly it was. What the strategy-wise, is that what you're planning at, that early stop, you know, playing it with Luke?
Yeah, absolutely. We'd done the fuel calculations, and neither of us really wanted to get caught up in traffic, and I don't think either of us felt particularly confident going through the bus stop either. We were about on the same pace, so we thought, well, let's make it work for us both. So we drafted as a bit of practice and got good queue times out of that, because I was really worried that we would be stuck mid-pack for qualifying if we didn't help each other out. And, you know, there's always the risk of a big pile-up on this track, isn't there?
Yeah.
And then, so the strategy played out right up to the point where I missed the pit stop, and it kind of didn't play out anymore. But it obviously played out well for Luke, which is great. So yeah, it was a good plan, just didn't quite make it tonight.
The poor execution in the tail end of the actual run. So yeah, and it is amazing. We were talking about that during the race. The actual the teamwork and the ability to be able to work together in these particular scenarios to be able to get the runs. And I actually called it when you and Clark were racing. You know, you are quicker. Like your times separated you quite vastly, and even though Clarkey had that run, I believe that he should have been able to, play back in behind you and let you to try and push you closer. But as it were, in the end, I think he may have been in conservation mode to try and save as much fuel. So yeah, you cut loose, and yeah, it was a really good run for you in the end, though.
Yeah, look, I didn't think Russell was quite driving to his full pace, and now you tell me he was short on fuel, then that kind of makes sense to me. So yeah, that's a shame for Russell. But yeah, no, it was good times. It was good times.
Oh, good stuff. Congrats on your second place.
Yeah, thanks, man, and thanks to you guys for doing the broadcast. You're doing a great job, eh?
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for that, Ian. We're going to cut across now to Dennis Fiedler. Welcome, Dennis. Our telemetry was a bit conflicting here. My telemetry says Kevin got you on the line, but the official race results basically says you got third. So congratulations. I'm not sure if you got third or fourth, but I'm assuming you got third.
Oh, you better believe I got third. I'm so stoked with that position, and unfortunate for Kevin, he ran out of fuel on his last attack out of the last corner on me and started spluttering over the line. So Mark got fourth as well, so Kevin finished in fifth.
Wow, so that's a third driver that's run out of fuel on the last lap, because Sam also spluttered on the last lap, and of course so did Russell. But yeah, it was a great tussle there you were having with Mark Turner, yourself, Kevin Henderson. It looked like you were pretty much in the thick of it all night, Dennis.
Oh, mate, me and Russell were going as hard as we could up front when we had the gap over everyone when Luke and Ian pitted early. I kind of figured that Luke and Ian probably had the pace on us, but me and Russell just decided to put heads down and just see how fast we could go, and we managed to keep Kevin and Mark at bay for most of the race up until the pit stops. And I thought, wow, seven seconds up the road, Russell's done well on pits, and I've come over the line with 3 laps of fuel left in the tank, so I probably took on a little bit more than I needed to, so I could probably have gone a bit further up the road, and Russell probably could have stood to take on a bit more fuel.
Yeah, well, the sweet spot we thought was around about 9.2 seconds, but we've just had confirmation. Also, Alex John ran out of fuel on the last lap. His stop was on 9.2 seconds, so a lot of people right on the knife edge there as far as fuel goes. But looking earlier in the race, were you in the box seat to see the big accident going through the bus stop, or were you fortunate enough to be in front of all that?
Oh, I didn't see anything going on around behind me. I was just eyes forward and blinkers on and just driving my little heart out, basically. I just wanted to go as far forward as I could.
Yeah, it was definitely a good result, and when I saw Kevin and Mark trailing up, they pulled you in pretty quick, but I tell you what, once you got back into that train of 3, it was all on, and congratulations getting 3rd position there. Fantastic effort, great drive, but I'm going to hand you over to Des, of course, and I'm sure he's got some more questions or comments, or I don't know, he might even read you a bedtime story.
Yes, Dennis. All I can say is that you'd never hit your apexes. That's a reference from last night. So, and obviously, if you watch the top split, you'll be able to catch that on the podcast. Now, your race itself. Obviously, you're happy with the overall result. 3rd place. Congratulations. It's a super effort, especially. What'd you start in 5th? I'm pretty sure.
No, I started in 4th, mate.
There's a 4th. There was
yeah.
4th. Okay. So, well, even that alone, you're quite low down the order. Obviously, a cooler track. Surprised you with the overall, the coolness of the track. Grip points didn't catch you out anywhere.
Yeah, look, you know how much practice I've done through the week on this track, and I've done all sorts of temperatures, but this one was about as lowest as I've run all week, and I had to relearn my braking points during the practice session before the race. There are some real doozy places where it can catch you out if you go too deep, but if you don't brake deep enough, then you're just going to be too slow. So I think I managed to relearn the track in that warm-up before the qualifying session.
Yeah, now looking at the track temps before the race, it was I thought to myself, that's quite cool, and it's going to actually throw a lot of spanners in the works with their braking points, the glides through the different corners and stuff, and obviously it did with the incident with Mick Gray. So it's great to see you up in 3rd position. Done well, congratulations, and I hope to see you keep pushing further up the grid in the latter part of the season.
Yeah, look, I have to say a big thanks to Michael and even Mark Turner, but Michael especially. We were doing some really good drafting in quali, and he's been really supportive. And go Team New Holland, better than that other Aussie breakfast drink that is going around at the moment.
Team Milo, yes.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, thanks, Dennis, for popping in, mate. Congratulations, 3rd position tonight. Look like you're hitting your apexes to me, but you might want to practice your braking.
I think maybe Des needs some glasses.
Yeah, you're probably right. He's been squinting up here all day or all night. But, folks, that's pretty much almost to the end of our broadcast. Final thoughts before we do go, Des. Where do you think... Well, what do you think of the standard of the racing tonight? And just talk.
The caliber of the racing is it like last week, and obviously this is my second cast. So the caliber of this racing in this event is out. It's up there. I've raced in a lot of different leagues throughout my sim racing career, if you could call it a career. And this seems to be. I enjoy it. I love calling it. It's great. It's exciting, and watching the caliber again. Can't say it enough. These guys just nose to tail. It's just insane. And like again, these cars are tissue paper. You're not in a tin lid where you can the rubbing's racing, that concept, all the rest of it. These things they cannot. They're not allowed to touch each other. So, hats off. These guys are doing a superb effort in this. Again, Simon Chambers, great work on the actual series. Love it. And I call out to anyone that's out there. Jump in, have a go. These guys race fast and clean. Obviously, they work together as a team. Half these guys are in a team, and they do. They've got a team championship. But as we've seen, Ian Bevan talking with, the different guys he was working with to be able to get himself further up the order. There's all these things occur, and you don't get that sort of camaraderie in a lot of events. So really, really enjoy the overall turnout, especially again tonight. Big turnout, great race. The overall attitude of all the drivers, it's really good.
Yeah, I'd second that. I think the Skippy community in Australia is the friendliest iRacing community in this club, so I'd definitely recommend you guys jump in if you want to run in the Skippies. I tell you what, some people don't drive them because they think they're underpowered, but I tell you what, they're designed for close racing. They're going to teach you more racecraft than you're going to learn in any other category, and you're going to have a darn good time as you do it. And I jump in every now and again and have a run, and I do come out with a smile on my face most of the time, unless I bin it. But anyway, folks, that's coming to the end of our telecast tonight. Hope you've enjoyed our coverage, and thanks to all of you who tuned in through iRacing Live. We're going to be back with you tomorrow night. That'll be Alex McCullough and myself to call the Skip Barber Monday Lights. And if you like what you saw tonight, definitely jump in tomorrow night, because that's the Australian Strength of Field race. We generally, last week we had 4 splits, and we're generally in the top 5 splits in the world as far as iRating goes, so or strength of field goes, and we get a lot of Europeans down that like to mix it with the Aussies, and it makes for great fun. But anyway, Des, thanks for jumping in with me tonight. No doubt you'll be back in a fortnight with Alex McCullough to call the next round of the Australasian Superskips, while I take RRTV over to call the endurance racing.
No, excellent. Appreciate getting me on board. Love to be able to do more of this sort of stuff. Hope everyone enjoys my casting, and I bid you all adieu and have a good night. Yeah,
and on behalf of Desmond Hamburger,
Harbinger,
that's it, Des. I'm Bernie Weemers. Thanks for tuning in tonight, folks. Hope we'll have your company again tomorrow night, and until then, we hope you have a good evening. Good night.